joining us in this webinar. Note that we have this Q&A section. You can find it in the control bar. Make sure that you place your question directly there, so we will be able to address them during the webinar. And if we will run out of time, then we will be able to come back to you and answer your question that you put in the Q&A section. So I think we can start. And again, so hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar by floLIVE and Everything Voice, enhancing security system with reliable IoT connectivity. My name is Eyal. I will be your host and moderator today. In a world where security is no longer just about strong locks and CCTV cameras, but about seamless connection and surviving the occasional firmware update, we are here to dive into today what makes security system truly smart. And we have here today with us Luigi Capabianco from floLIVE, and we have Neil Atchison from Everything Voice. Hello, Neil. Hello, Luigi. And the agenda for today is that we will start with a very short presentation from Luigi and Neil. Afterwards, we will do some panel with, we will run a panel, and afterward, we will open the floor for your questions. So stay tuned, and Luigi, you can start.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
Perfect. So hello, everyone. I'm Luigi. I'm heading up floLIVE in Europe and Middle East. And thanks, Neil, for joining us here today. So today we're going to speak about connectivity and security, how these two things work together, how these two components empower IoT devices within this domain. We can, of course, talk about security across several industries, talk about security across several devices. Here in this slide, you see just some of the potential applications. Neil probably will share some more later on in his presentation. Probably we will discuss some more in the panel. If you can go to the next slide, Eyal. So now, yeah, this is us. And now I'd like to give you a very, very brief overview of what floLIVE is for the ones in the forum who didn't meet us before. So we are a software company. We are a relatively small and focused team of telecom experts. We are about 167 people. 70% of us are employed within the R&D department and spread globally around different offices depending on competencies and roles. And what we've been doing for the last few years, quite a few years, is building the largest cellular network available at the moment on the market. And we're building this in-house in order to securely connect anything to the internet anywhere on Earth, meaning the largest cellular network in the world means that we can provide coverage in every single country through different providers in different ways on obviously different networks, completely redundant and completely geo-redundant. So to allow the best coverage, best availability, and best performance, which can then enable our partners like Everything Voice to deploy to their end customers secure communication and to have simplified operations and to enjoy very good high-level support we offer. Going to the next slide. I'd like to explain what is that I mean by the world's largest cellular network. Eyal, if you can go to the next slide, please. Yeah. So we deployed several packet gateways around the world, several points of presence around the world, all centrally managed by a single platform, entirely made and operated and designed by floLIVE. By developing our own entire cellular stack, we also mean that we keep security at the topmost of our agenda, because it's important not just for security application, it's important for any kind of connectivity. nowadays, actually probably more and more. And the network that we deployed is the solution that we provide is actually made of 4 main components, which you can see on this slide. The core network, which is the component which actually transports the packet, the payload from A to B over the cellular network. The rating and billing, which allows the system to rate, to calculate how much data has been consumed, at what point in time, what's the cost for it, and so on. The SIM management and the RSP platforms are in order to allow us and our customers to steer and remotely configure, remotely update SIM cards. This comes very handy in many applications, especially mission critical applications where you may need to tweak and change the specific SIM card, not only before production, but also once it's in the field. And all of this falls under the umbrella of our connectivity management platform, which allows us and our customers and their customers, actually, because it's multi-tier, multi-tenant, to act, to change parameters, to monitor, to build also. All what we build is made to be real time. And by real time, we mean that on our connectivity management platform, you can do troubleshooting on events that are actually happening between the device, the SIM card, and the network in this specific moment as we speak. It's all cloud native, which is one of the reasons allowing us to deploy all these points of presence around the world, because we can deploy our software in any kind of infrastructure. It could be an Azure on AWS, it could be a commercial data center, it could be an on-premise data center, private data center, depending on the needs. It's built on microservices, which also means that it quickly and easily and autonomously scales, so that we can optimize the cost for our partners. And you can make sure that if one of your customers has a specific load because they're launching a software update, for example, our network responds autonomously and consumes more virtual machines, more Kubernetes pods, accordingly to what's needed in the specific moment. All what we build is API driven, because we don't want to be at the forefront. We don't want to be in front of your end customers, or of everything voice, for example, end customers. But our partners and their customers are free to use our user experience, are free to use our GUI, but they're also free to just consume it via API, and they have all functions available. Thanks, Eyal.
Sure.
So what are our core values, just to sum them up to close? We want to provide the best cellular coverage in the world. We do this by partnering with several MNOs. We currently have about 12 IMSIs, so 12 MNO relationships in our portfolio, which all our partners can consume. We want to deliver the highest availability in the market, which again is done by, yes, having geo-redundant core network, yes, having several points of presence, but also having agreements with several different MNOs, and having on our SIM card, on the SIM cards we provide of any form factor, the ability to have multiple IMSIs running on the SIM card at any point in time on an applet that we made, we designed, we maintain, and we command. We know that there are multiple multi-IMSI solutions on the market. We believe that our has quite a lot of advantages because it's made in-house, it's made for this specific IoT purpose. And this allows us to have very high availability on the market together with the nature of our core network. The fact that we have all these points of presence all around the world also means that we can deliver very high performances homogeneously around the world, meaning that one of our SIM cards in Canada with a certain IMSI can perform homogeneously to another SIM in Australia and in the UK, because they all can use different points of presence depending on where they are. And this is of utmost importance in the specific vertical we're talking about today. The end-to-end network security, I said it before, it's one of our key pillars, and that's why we built our own core network without third-party components. We must give simplified operations to our partners. We want our partners to scale. We also want to scale, obviously, therefore simplified operations are important for us. And that means that we provide a solution with many different options on a single SKU, all manageable self-service by a single GUI all around the world. And last but not least, one of our most important pillars is to develop exceptional customer service. We offer by default 24/7 human support in different regions of the world to make sure that our partners and their customers always have our support when they need it.
All right, thank you very much, Luigi. We'll now move to Everything Voice presentation by Neil.
Thank you, Eyal. Firstly, very pleased to be here. Thanks for inviting me today. So just wanted to spend a couple of minutes just giving you a bit of an introduction to Everything Voice. We work with a large community of partners who are predominantly providing and supporting physical security solutions across a wide variety of sectors, and these include retail, national infrastructure projects, and construction. There are quite a number more, but those tend to be the primary ones. They typically use us when they want to connect their critical security systems to the internet and to their local monitoring stations in the region that they operate. Connectivity isn't really something that they and their customers want to leave. They don't want to leave it a chance and don't want to take on the burden of designing and maintaining and monitoring these communication systems on their own. So by working with us, they benefit from the best coverage, availability, advice, and support across their installed base, which frees them up then to focus on properly protecting their customers' assets with their own security solutions. Next slide, please, Eyal. There we go. Mm-hmm. So as an aggregator of communication solutions, I suppose our supply chain and our team are probably, in fact, they are amongst the most important factors in our success. And so we typically work with suppliers and team members who share our core values. As a team, we're always pushing ourselves and our customers to improve, evolve, and innovate, whilst providing playing a very supportive role, helping them understand what can be achieved, playing a key part in helping them stand out in what is quite a crowded market in physical security. It's important to us that we help the community we work in to fulfill their potential and explore any opportunities where they are to provide not just flexible and commercially viable solutions and services, but also communication solutions which take into account everybody's needs. Next slide, please, Eyal. So as a business, we're a group of people, which every business is, with similar values when it comes to serving the customer. And we hold ourselves and our supply chain very much to account. Our supply chain, including floLIVE, is fundamental to our success. The strength of our supply chain has played a huge part in helping us, not only keeping us very inspired and invigorated to do better, but to help us grow in a relatively short period of time. Some of the milestones I would say that we're probably the most proud of include the growing number of M2M and IoT connections. So we've grown that by 10,000 in the last 2 years, almost entirely across our customer base of physical security solutions providers. We've also seen a huge growth in the number of security companies purchasing both our 4G and 5G router hardware and the number of software solutions to install in their towers, PIDs, pods, all manner of different portable, typically, security solutions which operate on these sites. We've assisted our security installers in securing not only M2M and IoT connectivity, but also fixed line connectivity where it's available. And we've helped them open the door to dual path and fixed cellular solutions. So as a result, we've really grown our base of customers to somewhere we didn't expect to be. We've grown it to 300 in the last couple of years, and have now been, even more importantly, able to invest in a much more comprehensive support infrastructure, which includes 24/7 technical support, just to assist our clients, not only during the day, but also in those critical hours in the evening and at weekends when sites are typically being left unprotected. So that's really us in a nutshell. Hopefully I'll pass that back to you, Leon.
Yeah, thank you very much, Noel. So before we move into the panel discussion, I just want to ask you again to keep up going with your question. Use our Q&A section to place your questions. So even if we will not be able to answer all your questions here today during the webinar, we will be able to come back to you later on. So now let's move on with our panel discussion. And Neil, I actually wanted to start with you, if I may.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
And I want to start with asking, basically, why is connectivity crucial for physical security?
Well, there are several reasons, and there are also many use cases that I'm going to highlight at some point during the discussion as well. But in a nutshell, security installers, integrators, manufacturers, distributors have to be incredibly versatile people. They have to be very, very agile to meet the wide range of customer needs and environmental conditions. The solutions they provide are also usually not static, so they're not all fixed to one place, in that the solution has to be adaptable to meet the changing needs of different types of organizations, different environments. The solutions they provide also have to be fully managed and monitored remotely by fully accredited monitoring centers using industry recognized command and control software. Furthermore, I suppose they also have a joint responsibility with their own customer and their own supply chain to ensure sites and assets are well protected. So in order to meet effectively the needs of these people, their communication strategy needs to be very, very well-rounded and should always encompass fixed line, mobile, and satellite communications. So if you look at some of the use cases that we regularly see, as a well-known, for example, as a well-known established provider of mobile and fixed line connectivity solutions, specifically to security installers, these will always include vacant sites. They'll also include unoccupied sites, construction sites, national infrastructure projects, such as in the UK water network or the HS2 network here in the UK. Unmanned pay at the pump solutions, petrol forecourts, EV charging stations is now a growing opportunity, a growing market, and there's also a number of offshore facilities as well. In these and many other use cases, what we tend to find is fixed line connectivity is not always possible. In most cases, it's not possible, and so this is where our M2M and IoT solution really comes into its own. The solution we get through floLIVE, it becomes incredibly critical in this type of scenario. I mean, obviously, the security installer must have some kind of reliable mobile connectivity strategy to address the connectivity challenges of these use cases in the absence of any fixed line options. And that's really it in a nutshell, I believe.
All right, thank you for that. Luigi, now for you, you have pretty much a global experience, selling IoT connectivity all across the globe. What are the connectivity challenges that you see?
Well, focusing on what Neil shared, meaning on this type of applications, because obviously each industry has its own specific challenges. Some of the challenges are cross-industry, of course. Now, the main challenges are cross-industry. For example, when we talk about filling the coverage gaps or meeting the regulatory hurdles that are actually more and more today, or making sure that the connectivity has good performance. These are general challenges that can have different answers, to which we as floLIVE answer in our own way. I will elaborate on that, but I think that the security domain, the security and surveillance domain, have added additional challenges, because if you think about it, we're talking about, as you said, Neil, unmanned stations, so proper IoT devices. There's no one looking at it. But these devices, first of all, they're almost always on. They need to be very often always on, which is very different from a smart meter. Smart meter connects, let's say, once a day. The level of reliability of the cellular connectivity needs to be different, can be a bit different. For a security camera on the HS2 network, that needs to be always on, period, right? So I think that in the security domain, there is really zero tolerance for downtime, which means that you need to look for solutions that offer additional redundancy to the standard cellular connectivity solutions. There is also a growing need for higher throughput, because of course, more and more of these devices are based on video analysis, on footage analysis, very often done with AI tools. So not only the latency needs to be low in order to act to an alarm, but it needs to be low in order to communicate, to send these growing payloads over in a quicker way. So if you put together the zero tolerance and the high needs for performance, these are, in my opinion, two of the main specific challenges that the security domain faces. And I think our solution answers to these challenges in a few ways. Point number one, what we define as our hyperlocal architecture, meaning it's a global architecture with all these points of presence deployed all over the world, tens of points of presence that the SIM can use depending on the location or the configuration that the specific partner decides to use on that SIM card. So this localized architecture, which covers the globe, allows the device to use the best possible route in order to decrease latency, for example, to increase performance of the service. You can then match these with the ability to have multiple IMSIs sitting on the SIM card, all active at the same time. And this means that you always have a backup scenario. If on top of this you add that all our infrastructure is fully geo-redundant, meaning that, for example, for a SIM connected in the UK, we have a UK packet gateway, a packet gateway in Frankfurt, and a packet gateway in Sofia, active. It means that the level of reliability that our infrastructure offers by definition, it's quite high, and therefore it matches nicely with the needs of the security domain. I think overall, if you want to summarize the challenges and what we answer, the way we try to answer these challenges, is that you need to cover compliance, performance, and reliability in the best possible way. And we chose to do it at floLIVE with our hyperlocal architecture over multi-IMSI solution.
All right, thank you. So now basically that we understand the connectivity challenges, and we also understand the needs for the connectivity, I wanted to ask you, Neil, but actually in real life, what happens when IoT connectivity fails?
Well, firstly, I agree with everything Luigi said there. I think it's ignore it at your peril, really. Reliance on high quality communications links can't be understated, whether that be fixed line, satellite, or M2M stroke IoT type connectivity. Going back to the previous question, if you look at some of the typical use cases that I mentioned, and some that Luigi's mentioned there again, vacant and unoccupied sites, construction sites, unmanned pay-at-the-pump petrol forecourts, EV charging stations, offshore facilities, so many. These will typically not have anything other than access to a mobile data connection, just because of the nature of the site. At the same time, then the customer expects at least the same level of access for their engineers and monitoring facilities. Monitoring facilities are obviously crucial. Without monitoring facilities and good, reliable, proactive monitoring, there is so much risk to reputation, to assets, to a whole raft of additional things. I suppose the design of the customer's overall security solution can factor in elements of backup, resilience, and redundancy. But this can all also come at significant expense and cost. We've seen this before. So having a high quality and reliable M2M and IoT type connectivity is absolutely crucial. Without this, sites are at risk of being unprotected, expensive assets are at real risk of loss. Then you've got inconvenience, you've got disruption, you've got damage to reputation, all really, really important factors. So, I mean, we've worked with a number of security installers involved in protecting particularly large infrastructure projects, such as the HS2 in the UK, or the water network, or even the national rail network, where a complete failure of their M2M or IoT communications network just prevents monitoring expensive machinery. There is site safety, there's people safety, there's delays in responses to thefts, or vandalism or damage, which is typically resulted in thousands and thousands of pounds worth of assets at risk. Not to mention, you know, the risk to a company's reputation, their brand, what they're about. So we've also worked with security installers who are responsible for protecting unmanned pay at the pump petrol forecourts, where they become completely unable to sell fuel if they have an M2M or IoT outage. Some of the largest operators in those senses, we have installers that manage 400, 500, 600 petrol forecourts, for example. If they are unable to sell fuel, it's a huge financial nightmare for them. And I think those are two of the sort of main cases that we've come across ourselves.
All right, thank you. So, Luigi, how does floLIVE help customer avoid these moments of failure?
So, as I said before, we designed a solution which is redundant from several points of view, from the network point of view, from the SIM point of view. By itself, this already gives you some additional level of security. But what we did specifically is to take all this infrastructure, like, as I said before, let's say we have about 12 different IMSI partners. So these IMSIs, they sit on 12 different completely segregated core networks. They don't share common components of the network. Now, if you take, let's say, just two of these IMSIs, and bear in mind, I'm not just talking about the multi-IMSI solution. It could also be a multi-UICC profile solution. So it's not limited to the multi-IMSI UICC kind of flavor of it. Mm-hmm. But if you take two profiles, whatever flavor you like to have it, if you take two profiles, and these two profiles are sitting on two completely segregated core networks, then what we did, we implemented both on UICC and EUICC, we implemented a set of logics which allow the SIM card to act in case something doesn't work. For example, the SIM card is connected, registered to the network, connected with IMSI number 1. Something happens to the core network related to IMSI number 1, or something happens to the cellular network, the radio access network on the ground, to which the IMSI number 1 is connected at that point in time. Mm-hmm. We can configure a certain time span, let's say under 20 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever, in which the SIM tries to register again. So registration is dropped, the SIM tries to register again. If the SIM cannot register for that time span, it will autonomously move to the second IMSI line and try to register with the second IMSI line, which can be an IMSI, as I said, sitting on a completely different core network and therefore not experiencing the outage of the first one, or it could be an IMSI that in that location connects to an additional radio access network, which is not experiencing an outage at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just one of the examples that can help solve a situation like that one. In another case, going a bit more technical, if the registration is working, but there is an issue with the data transition, with the data transport, with the packet gateway, if you are using an infrastructure with a single packet gateway, if that packet gateway is down, you have an issue. In our case, even if you're using a single IMSI, as I said, any form factor, any flavor, but a single IMSI on that specific SIM card, and that IMSI is sending data to a packet gateway, if that packet gateway goes down, we have another packet gateway which is already active, and the communication can switch, the bearer can be moved to the second packet gateway to send data there.
Thank you very much. Interesting. Neil, we understand the challenges, we understand the connectivity needs, but I have a question that is more maybe related to business-wise. So basically, you were provided the hardware, the modems, the routers, whatever. Why eventually you decided to embed connectivity into your solution instead of leaving it to the customer?
Well, we didn't always do that, and everything that Luigi there has explained is a very solid reason why we chose. Is a very solid reason why we chose to do so. I would say that it's become extremely evident that the customer or our customers don't want to leave something so critical to their in-house team. And I understand why, given the cost, disruption, and risk to their business, as previously demonstrated in the use cases we mentioned. Furthermore, they need a solution which is properly designed and monitored by experts in the field as part of achieving and managing their own security industry accreditations. So furthermore, we decided that only providing a part of the communication solution for us only served to impede things like troubleshooting, it delayed resolution, it caused unnecessary stress to our installers and their clients. And it felt to us a little bit like working with our hands tied. Offloading the provision of connectivity, if we were to do that, means that we would be almost unable to offer any service level guarantees. And I suppose the question will be, without service level guarantees, can the solution we provide be relied upon to do its job when it's needed most? And the answer to that question is I don't think so. In terms of the question of why we actually decided to do it, all of those things are important. But what Luigi mentioned earlier about the levels of troubleshooting, the relationship we have with floLIVE, the intrinsic reliability of the network, all made it a much, much easier decision to make.
Good, thank you. Luigi, allow me to capitalize on your experience. What do you think next for connectivity and security?
So as we said before, we see, and I mean, Neil is an expert on this much more than myself, but I think, Neil, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're seeing more and more devices which perform edge computing, real-time analytics, video analytics, and therefore, if these devices are using cellular connectivity, as opposed to Wi-Fi, for example, or to fixed line, I think we're going to see a growing, we are already seeing, but we're going to see more and more demand for bandwidth, more and more demand for high performance, higher and higher performance. If you go back 5, 6 years ago, maybe not even that long, let's say 5 years ago, an alarm system that you can install in your house ran perfectly with a 2G connectivity, no problem. Today, it struggles. Today, the amount of data that same kind of device, which of course it's been evolved, the modem itself has evolved, the computing has evolved, the amount of data it sends, the performance requirement the device has are different, are better. So we as a connectivity provider, the connectivity industry needs to cope up with that. We need to expand our networks. We need to grow our networks, which is what we're doing. There's a need for elastic networks. As I said before, for example, our network is cloud native, is made of microservices. It's elastic by default, right? A legacy network, which was built on more, let's say, more solid kind of infrastructure, as a tougher time in expanding depending on the demand. So that's first thing, need for growing performance. 5G also comes into the game with this now. We will see more and more 5G compatible devices. We definitely see a growing need for VoLTE technology to be applied to security. Let me include into the security also, for example, the lift monitoring devices. The lift monitoring industry has been in the last couple of years moving from standard voice to VoLTE, and it will keep doing that going forward. And we're seeing the increased amount of global regulations related to data privacy. Since here very often we're moving payloads which contain images and not just the temperature data, we need to be very careful about data privacy acts, about the GDPR-like regulations, and therefore it's important to use cellular connectivity solutions which handle data correctly, probably through local breakouts. So to summarize, growing performance, need for new services like VoLTE, growing amount of regulations. These things together are, in my opinion, going to be more and more needed. We also see, as in every industry, a growing need for AI. As a matter of fact, we are deploying a set of autonomous analytics features, which come into play in the security domain, because as we said before, here there's zero tolerance for outages. We are deploying some kind of feature that, for example, allow the platform itself to spot if that specific SIM card is behaving not accordingly to his trend up until an hour ago, up until a day ago, so that the platform itself can be proactive and spot if there's an issue anywhere and let the user know before the user finds out, so that the proactivity across the value chain can be much higher.
Yeah, thank you for that. Neil, if you may, can I ask you, how did you choose your connectivity provider? Maybe you can share that with the audience, what they need to look at, to be careful from.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the organization. Everybody's got different requirements, but I suppose there's always going to be a central question, which is how critical is M2M connectivity? And obviously that in part boils down to the risks they're willing to take. I would generally recommend that I would generally recommend they'd spend some time looking at, as we did, the providers or the service providers' ability and willingness to provide ongoing support. That's probably the central question. The second question I would genuinely want to get into, and this is again something that we did when we started looking at who we were going to partner with long term on this side of our business, and that is the thought that has already gone into the upkeep and design of their core network, because not everybody is the same. And I think those two things are two central things that should be really properly evaluated. Their ability and willingness to provide support, and the thought that's gone into not just the design of, but the upkeep of their core network. floLIVE for us was the natural choice, given everything I said about the critical nature of the solution for our customers, the always-on nature, ourselves as a business, the way that we react, our proactive nature, our willingness to work in partnership with customers. We really do benefit immensely from the support that we get from floLIVE. We also benefit immensely from the localized nature and the high performance that we get from the localized connections that we get from floLIVE. Probably the last thing, or one of the last things, is we do really benefit from a ready-to-go IMSI library, which allows us not only to deploy a true multi-IMSI, multi-carrier solution natively, but it's also just a very, very robust solution, which allows us to adapt to the changing needs of our customers and gives us the ability to work with customers, not just in the UK, but in Europe and in the rest of the world without degradation of quality. I think those are the core fundamental reasons why. I want to just end by saying, from our point of view, from my opinion, from my team's opinion, the floLIVE CMP is by far and away the best one that we've worked with, giving us far more tools to really support our customer base and to allow our own customers a number of self-service options, including troubleshooting, SIM management, proactive monitoring and alerts and alarms. These are all really, really fundamental for us. The support we've had from floLIVE is, of course, second to none. And as partners, we know we can deliver on our promises with your support. And I think that's genuinely from the heart. That's the reason why we decided to run with floLIVE, having evaluated the market.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Neil, and thank you also, Luigi. We have some questions from the audience, and I'm inviting the audience to keep on sending their questions, so we got a little bit more time so that we can address them. So let me start with one question that was coming. With AI, they're asking, are we developing, Luigi, it's probably for you, are we developing in-house leveraging pre-built models, or we are looking on something that from a third-party AI tool?
All right, good question. So our infrastructure runs on Oracle Cloud Services, and we partnered up with Oracle and NVIDIA GPU to develop in-house our own AI tools. So we're using infrastructure and the AI models, so the infrastructure from Oracle and the AI models running on NVIDIA GPU, and we are developing the tools itself in-house.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. Another question that I see here is, does your service include alternative communication like satellite? Yes,
sure it does. So one of the options that customers, partners can use to connect among our available IMSIs is also satellite non-terrestrial IoT networks, indeed.
Thank you. And another one coming here, are these solutions available in less developed countries like Africa, for example?
Absolutely. We cover all countries in the world with different options, as I said. As a matter of fact, in Africa, we have multiple POPs, multiple sites. We currently have sites in South Africa, and we also have some exclusive sites for some of our customers in Lagos, Nigeria, and we're launching more POPs. But nevertheless, One thing is sites, another thing is coverage. So we do offer coverage across all Africa, as well as Latin America, as well as Southeast Asia.
Thank you, Luigi. We'll appreciate. I will encourage you to keep on sending your question, and if you have follow-up question, feel free to drop. I have another one here. Not sure, Luigi or Neil, who can answer that, but have you approached the security by providing a unique identity using a stronger authentication method like PKI, or post-quantum?
So personally, I don't know, Neil, if you know personally, I'm not familiar with these two terms, but as I said, I'm not a security expert. What we've been doing is we've been working on using solutions as IoT safe to have a unique identifier for some of the cloud applications. But I don't know if that falls within the same umbrella. I don't know if you know, Neil.
I'm not sure, actually, Luigi, no.
Okay, so I can add that in our solution, we also provide like private APN, which create a completely private and a more secured environment. And there is also VPN capabilities where we can use a strong authentication method, right? And we can do private IPs and dynamic IPs. So there are like a complete suite of solutions between private IPs, VPNs, private APN that you can increase the level of security.
We have, on that, we do have, I would say the majority of our customer base, not all, but a good proportion of, certainly use the private APN solution in conjunction with an IPsec VPN tunnel, either to their monitoring station or to their HQ, or to somewhere else, and they'll typically use that if they want to maintain a higher level of control over their devices and their assets, but also to provide a secure connection from the monitor site right the way through to the monitoring station. So we do. I mean, I can vouch for the fact that we do use that solution extensively with all of our security installers. It's very it's very secure, very good, very reliable.
All right, so I got here notes. If someone is asking if there is already available software bill of materials that we can share, we will share, I think, the presentation.
This is a SaaS. What we provide is a SaaS solution, so it's a software as a service. It's a network as a service. So we don't provide a bill of material, meaning it's not that our partners, say every invoice needs to install this software on their own environment. We provide the full solution as a service, which makes it much more scalable. Basically, there's no CapEx besides buying the SIM cards of any form factor you like. But no, every invoice didn't have to do any CapEx investment to start using the SIM card. They didn't have to buy space in the data center and install our instance of the software. It's a multi-tier, multi-tenant solution. So every invoice have their own. I believe, Neil, you use our GUI. So you have our white label version of the GUI.
We do, although we are in the process of integrating that within our business management solution at this moment in time
via API
with floLIVE, which will just basically streamline everything from provisioning, right from point of order through the sales order process to provisioning, and then on to support. So we're in the process of getting that completed at the moment.
So even here, again, it's not a matter of bill of materials, because every invoice can just consume the APIs to our services, to our platforms, and embed it in their existing solution.
Yeah, correct.
All right, cool. Thank you. Another question I got here is, how fast can a failure be detected?
Well, I mean, I can answer that question just from my experience. There may be something you want to add, Luigi, but we already work with we already work with several providers who continually and proactively monitor the health of CCTV solutions, providing almost real-time feedback on failures. So obviously the identification is very, very quickly. They have the capacity to manage and monitor thousands of assets very, very quickly. And this could be as simple as remotely checking the integrity of many connections every few seconds, to more sophisticated monitoring of installed security hardware. And I'm aware of a couple of partners that we operate with here in the UK and Europe that offer that as a service. Our hardware management platform, 4G and 5G device hardware management platform, also does that as well. So it provides real-time notifications on signal degradation, packet loss, latency, those kinds of issues. I don't know whether there's anything you want to comment on the floLIVE side, Luigi.
Yeah, I can only add that this, yes, from a network point of view, to serve the service that you just described, these kind of services, we have our AI powered tools, meaning it's a NOC, it's a full network operation center, which is powered by a number of industry known AI services, which constantly monitor our infrastructure. If there's a degradation, for example, packet degradation, it immediately raises an alert, and our 24/7 support center can take action based on it. So the spotting, the detection of the failure is immediate. That obviously doesn't mean that the solution of the failure can be immediate, and that's why we have a geo-redundant kind of design across all our components.
Interesting, thank you. So we have time for one last question. So if I apologize for the answers that we were not able to answer, we will answer them offline later on. I will share it with you. So let's choose this one. So what are the costs of downtime? What are the components that you will consider in a cost of downtime?
If I'm understanding the question correctly, and I'm not sure whether I am, is it the cost of downtime to the customer, or is this relating to some kind of service level agreement, do you think?
I think for the customer.
So, I mean, from our experience, there are several different layers to that. So you've obviously got at the top reputational damage, and that's very difficult to put a figure on. But reputational damage, specifically in the physical security sector, is a very, very costly thing. We've worked with partners in the past that have worked with other IoT and M2M providers that have put their cost of damaged reputation into the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds. What you've then got is you've got the cost of response. So many installers of security systems that we operate with have got a cost associated with man guarding. So let's say, for example, there is an estate of IoT devices, in this case, which could be routers and towers, have failed. There is the associated cost with having to put man guards on site. So let's say, for example, this customer's site on a HS2 infrastructure project loses connectivity. They now have to deploy a team or a mobile patrol unit to that site. And I've had conversations with installers that could put that figure at £100,000 a week to have a mobile patrol unit on each one of their protected sites. And then you've got the cost of assets as well, and that's going to depend on the nature of the site that's being protected. Expensive plant machinery is one thing, but then there's vehicles, We talked earlier about the pay at the pump scenario, where one particular forecourt operator is unable to transact fuel using the pay at the pump system without connectivity or without the camera operating to monitor that site. And if you've got some operators in the UK that have got 300, 400, 500 locations, not being able to sell fuel for 24 hours could be again into the hundreds of thousands of pounds. So
yes,
it will depend on the exact nature of the site, but the common ones are loss to reputation, guard response, mobile patrol units, and loss of assets.
Yeah, thank you very much, Neil. And also thank you, Luigi. We are running out of time, so I want to thank you both for joining me here today. I want to thank everyone that joined us here today. And if you would like to explore how Everything Voice or floLIVE can support your connectivity needs, reach out to us directly or visit floLIVE.net or everythingvoice.co.uk. This is how they were said, this is just the start of the conversation, so stay safe, stay secure, and most important, stay connected. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Eyal. Thanks, Neil.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Eyal.
everyone, for
Bye-bye.
participating. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.